Hey now, and how are you doing? Want to welcome you to the next episode of Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. We're going to bring on today a master hypnosis. Well, he's going to tell you who he is. Um, my friend Jeff. How are you doing this morning, Jeff?
Doing amazing. And I'm looking at you and I'm looking behind you, and there's a baseball bat. And obviously it's peace, and is it peace and love? It's cut
Peace.
off there.
Yep.
And a bat. And I'm like, okay, we got the first part, peace and love. There's no argument there. But tell me more about the bat.
Well, the bat has a few meanings. First,
Okay.
be authentic today. So that's one of the rules. So as a guest, I definitely want you to be as authentic. Be who you are, man. That's
Okay.
why we love to have you. And then it's also, you know, you know, bring awesome thoughts. So really, just all the thoughts that are out there. I really believe, and I think you do as well, about the energy that we bring into things and the thoughts that we bring in really help us align, get through some of those things, the good thoughts. And when we have a less good thought, we then just need to reframe it. And I'm sure you're going to talk to us a little bit about reframing at some point during this interview.
Yeah, you just said a lot right there with the reframing and the thought, right? I actually have these acronyms. I think the first one I got from someone else, which is BAR,
Mhm.
which is like chin up bar, right? Not the other kind of bar. And it's beliefs, actions, BAR, results, right? BA.
Yep.
But the other one that I created on my own from that, because I wanted to include the woo-woo crowd,
Yeah.
right? The Tao. And that one is thoughts, what you just said, right? Thoughts, actions, outcomes.
Mm.
So it's really the same thing, but
Yeah.
beliefs, actions, results, or thoughts, which are right, they form into beliefs,
Yep.
and it's the same thing. So thoughts is like what starts the whole system.
Well, that's it. And that's why we bring awesome thoughts to our world. It just multiplies. As you know, and that's where what we want to do is just multiply and hear some great stories and get some resources. That's one of the reasons for the podcast is not only to tell your story. That's entertainment. I'm sure you have a great backstory, or maybe not as great going through it as others, but it's the resources to where you've brought today, and somebody needs to hear it, right? That's why we do these things. Somebody needs to hear the resources that you're bringing to the world and helping move us along, stepping into that arena of the world, what that looks like for us.
The arena. Would it be okay if I start off with a poem? It's an original. Is
Sure,
that
let's go.
okay?
Yeah, of
All right.
course.
So this poem goes right into the thought. So I had a guy contact me. We got him on a consult, and I said, "Hey, what's going on? How can I help?" He said, "I'm a failure." I'm like, "What?" That was like that way you started the conversation. I am a failure. I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I failed at this, and I failed at that, and I failed at my marriage, and I failed at my job, and he was, failed at my fitness, and everything." And I remember it just working on my brain. And I think it was a few days later, but I woke up early in the morning and I'm thinking about this failure thing. And I sat down to write. I didn't want to write, but I wrote on my calendar, writing block, no excuses. I'm like, oh man, 6 a.m. I'm in a fog. I'm not even awake. Shut up and write. It says no excuses. And this poem felt like it downloaded into my brain. And it's about failure. It's about alchemizing, I suppose, failure. So that's kind of where it comes from. The title of it is Hailure, like the hail, the
Yep.
rocks, the ice blocks. And if you take hail and you mend it with failure, you get hailure. So,
Okay.
so here we go. And warning to anybody listening, there is a little bit of hypnotic language in there. So if you feel kind of good afterwards, you mean this is why. All right. So here we go. What if failure is the elusive key that I need to succeed? What if failure is the ace in my pocket, exactly the action that creates the attraction? What if failure was a misspelling of Hailure? Hailure, hail yeah. What if hail, those frozen blocks that fall from the sky, were meant to bonk my block of a head, to ring the bell, to open the doors, the floodgates of new thoughts and ideas that fuel my pen to create new methods, new neural connections of ideas mixing and blending, confounding, astounding, interacting, innovational wonders, creating real magic. Wait, what? What I think you're saying is that a fail is the hail, a falling gift from above delivered to me to rock my block, to open the doors to the answers I seek, to succeed in new ways I could not have previously imagined. So, what you're really saying is that failure is the key to success? Oh, yes. Now go and begin that thing you feared, welcoming, embracing, even loving your fears, falls, and failures. Fail your way to success. Go now and begin collecting those no's and no-goes like sand in the pan that sifts and finds the gold in you.
Wow. That's excellent. That is excellent. And wow, that is really powerful. That's very Ericksonian. But there's so much power in what you just shared. I really I can't wait to listen to it again. That's the great thing.
I
So
appreciate that. I'll take that as a compliment.
yeah, no, for sure it's a compliment. Oh no, no, for
I
sure
take
it's a
everything as a
compliment.
compliment. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a compliment. Sorry that it didn't come
Okay.
across that way.
No, no, it did. I just joked. Like if you said, Jeff, you're a butthole, I'll be like, oh, thank you. I'll take this as a compliment.
Right.
It's-
Um, so
okay.
okay, so tell me, so you said you had the poem ready. How do you have it ready? Uh, are you writing a book? Are you, are
Gotcha,
you
gotcha, gotcha.
gathering? Are you
Yes.
gathering them?
I've got a whole file over here full of
Yeah.
poems. So these are what's going into the book. The book was originally going to be a normal book, the 200 some odd pages of deep knowledge that I've um, accumulated over the last whatever decades. We're already past 6 decades, but all the knowledge I've accumulated. But then I hired a writing coach. Actually, this is her right here, Beth
Mm.
Terry. I
Oh,
met
okay.
her at the National Speaker Association. Um, and she wrote this book. She gave it to me. So like, look how big this book is. It's literally, I think, the thickness of my fingernail. Or it's so thin. And it's called Thinking About Thinking. And she said, why do you need a book this big, Jeff? What about a book this big? What about your first book is this big and then later make a book this big? I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? Well, you better think about that thinking. So, fascinating. And she helped me kind of take the ideas and map them out and then go, what's the purpose of the book? Purpose is to help people to go from their thoughts to make better decisions, better actions. You can't just be all woo woo and dream about it. You got to do,
Right.
you can't just manifest. You got to
Right.
do something in the world and then you get a different result. She said, well, do you actually need that many words to do that? Can't you 80/20 it and make it smaller? And then when we 80/20 it, can we 80/20 that? I'm like, oh, oh.
Right. How
And
small? How how much deeper can you go?
right.
Putting people in trances, right? How deep can you go? And it's the multiplication of that. Can you go 10 times more? But but it's the same thing with when we use it in our business is how to fine tune and chunk it down.
There you go. Um, and
I
for
love it.
anybody that maybe didn't catch the nuance
Yeah,
in that poem, essentially what it was alluding to was if you're outside and it starts to hail, those ice blocks, they hurt, right?
sure.
If you ever get hit by one, it's like somebody throwing rocks at you. But that sting, that's life situations like hail, it stings and it hurts. And we're like, I don't want it to hurt. Right? I just want everything to be beautiful. Like, no, 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 no. It's the sting that rocks your block, that opens the doors to the ideas, to the innovations, to the new insights, to the new emotions and actions, whatever. The pain is exactly how you get to the gold. You don't get the gold unless you have some stings
Right, you
right?
have to notice it, right? If you don't notice it, if I, sort of the frog in the boiling water, the frog doesn't know, the story, as you start raising the temperature, the frog doesn't know, it just adjusts. A lot of us live in life, this is just how it's supposed to be, and resigned to that versus saying, "Oh, that hurt," or "I notice that. How can I solve that? How can I overcome those specific things?"
What you just said, let me repeat what you just said. How can I solve that? How can I get over those things? What I think that where this is going is there are a lot, most, there are many people out there that are struggling. And the reason that they're struggling is simply because of the frame they're putting around the struggle. The questions that they're internally asking, like, why me? How could I have been so stupid? I guess I'm just going to have to deal with this. Why was I so unlucky when that nasty thing happened to me? Now I got to carry that shame and guilt for life. And this is, I guess, my fate. I'm like, no, no, wrong question, wrong thinking.
Right.
We got to reframe
Wrong,
that.
yep, wrong language around that. Yep.
It's one of the I have a stack of books over here. I'm a bit of a bookworm, but I always keep books in line of sight, not just in the bookcase in the office, and not just the hundreds inside the phone, the audibles. But I keep this one around mainly for the title, less about the content.
Mm,
And it's just a constant, when I look across the room and I see that big word ask, it's a constant reminder to stop and say, all right, you don't like something. What are you, what are the questions you have in your mind about that? And can you change the question? Can you ask that in a different way?
right.
That's, I think that's the magic.
Yeah. No, that is the magic, because it's how we ask it. We already know the answer, right? Subconsciously, there's a lot of things that we already know, and we want to just be, it to be reinforced in what we want to happen, the outcomes we want to happen.
Yeah, the outcomes. Yeah.
Yep.
I think often we ask something like, can I do blank? Can I get that job? Can I create that relationship? Can I actually get to the body size or level of fitness that I want? Can I, right? And I think that that's the wrong question. I think that that is the worst question. I mean, it's not a terrible question, but I think there's a better question. And the better question is than can I is how can I? Almost the same. Can I add one more word? How can I? So, can I get in the best shape of my life? Well, probably not. I'm this age and I'm already over the hill, the body's deteriorating. I'm like, whoa, 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 new question. How can I? Well, I guess I could add another rep. I guess I could add another set. I guess I can walk for 5 minutes and then tomorrow walk 1 minute more. How can I? Is the magic. Um, I don't want to brag here, but well, I'm very proud of it. In 2012, I saw YouTube where somebody did a muscle up. You know what a muscle up is?
Well, why don't you explain? I don't know that everybody does. Yes.
People know what chin ups are or
Right.
pull ups, and people might know what dips are, right? Where you lower yourself down, you do it between two chairs. A muscle up is something that's kind of rare in the real world, but it's where someone does very explosive with a lot of power, like jumping instead of just standing up, but an explosive chin up normally, and then transitions into this and goes straight up over the bar. So it's one single power move. And it's hard. You don't see it in the wild very often. It's I don't know, half of 1%, quarter of one. It's a tiny percentage of people. And in 2012, I'm trying to think of how old I would have been then, but something like 50. I gotta do the math on this, but it was a while ago. Something, 50 something, right? And I saw it. I'm like, wow, wow. What would that? Can you imagine that, Jeff? How cool would that be to be one of that small percentage of people that can do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then started asking the question, how can I do that? You know, how can I do that? And I started asking around. You even hear things like, "What? You're going to hurt your shoulders. Like that's for the kids, you know? That's you're going to tear this and do that. I'm like, no, how can I do it safe? Now change the question. How can I do this safely and protect the shoulders? Change the question. Oh, well, you got to scale. You got to start really easy. And anyway, I tried, I failed, I tried, I failed, got closer, forgot about it. And it wasn't until it was just after my 60th birthday, so I was 60 years old, I did my first one.
Wow. Okay.
And I was just, I'm 62 now, so that wasn't too long ago. And it was just like, that's the goal. I forgot about it. I didn't stay on track. It probably could have taken, less than 6 months, and it just hung with it. How can I? This seems impossible. And just keep,
It's those little words. I mean, when people say I can't do X, I usually go yet.
can.
That word yet.
Yeah, it's
It's
beautiful.
right. It's the promise to do it in the
Yeah.
future. Yet I just haven't learned how to do it yet, and it is much more powerful than saying I can't do it. I don't do it. Or like you said, I haven't learned how to do it. How can I do it safely? You know, and just those little words become so powerful.
Yet. That's a beautiful way to put it in. Let me see if I have it here. Did I bring that little book with me? My favorite book, and I don't even have it on the table. Anyway, so the favorite book is my personal book. No, not a published book. It's just a little pamphlet, little teeny, you buy the little empty notebooks with blank pages.
Yep, yep.
And I thought it was right here. But
I,
anyway, the book is on the top. I put my own name on it, title. And the title is What If Positive? Where
mm,
most people say, oh, what if I screw up? What if they laugh at me? What if I fail? Right? And I'm like, no. What if we change the what if? What if we flip the negative to a positive? It just takes one more line. You got the negative, you got half the right there. Put a
uh-huh.
little vertical line. What if I could? What if I did? What if what if positive?
Yep.
And it's become what if I got on David's podcast? Right? Here I am, right? So it's
Yeah, the possibilities are, the what if is another, set of words that really
yeah,
can excite. Yes, we have the what if I fail, but it's really, again, using that word differently, right? What if, because failure is giving up completely. What if I wasn't
right.
successful today? How can I be successful tomorrow, right? That's really when I talk to people about, oh, I'm a failure. I failed at this. Look, if you look at my life, I failed at a lot of things, but I'm still here. The podcast is in the top 2% now after taking a large break. Uh, you want to know something? I'm not going to fail. I just take a break every now and then. Uh, from my family of origin, we used to say, my parents would always go, I'm done. So I have that pattern I'm working to break because I'm never done. Like I've said plenty of times as an entrepreneur and so many things, I'm done. And then I sit there and I'm like, all right, I'm not done. This one, I can't just sit. I have too much to do that I feel that I'm able and knowing I'm able to help people. I can't just say I'm done.
Yeah, more to do. Always more, right?
There's
So
always something else you could do differently.
always something else. Your reframe yet, right? I can't, which is beautiful because you don't even have to change all the words. I
Right.
can't do this yet. I haven't done that yet, right? I'm not there. It's a beautiful reframe. It's so simple too. Just tag it at the end of the
Yep.
sentence, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Um, let's stay on this one. We got a couple cool reframes here, and I think they're one of the most useful thing in the world. So we already had another reframe, which was, "What if
Positive.
positive?"
Positive.
Right? There's a reframe. Put it in the yellow frame instead of the black frame, or the whatever, the rusty frame. Put it in the shiny silver frame.
Well, I
Right?
always say, how about if you just doubt your doubts? Like if we, right, it's those little things that you're like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, well, you know, have all of your doubts gone right? No. Okay, so then let's doubt our doubts. Let's doubt the things that we can do and, turn it into something that we just haven't learned how to do yet.
There you go. And in my upcoming book, I call that voice in the head, the doubter voice, I call it the dodo,
Oh,
right? Like when I was a little kid, you're a dodo, which meant stupid back
yeah.
then, right? Um, okay. And the other reframe is when someone says, I am bad at blank. Right. I'm never been good at that. I've always had a weight problem. People have always cheated on me, like whatever that is. I have them reframe in real time and I have them say, up until now,
Oh, sure.
up until now. So it becomes at the front instead of the yet at the back end of the sentence. But up until now, a pre-phrase,
Yeah.
then take the original phrase and put it into the past tense. So let's see what's I'm not good at speaking, whatever, right? Um, Up until now, I haven't been past tense good at speaking, right? So that's the way I would make the client repeat it back, right? Up until now.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
it's a great way to set yourself up, set them up for that piece because that again, it's like the word yet. It's that future. Okay, so everything that happened in the past, our rear view
yeah.
mirror is always smaller than the windshield wiper. The windshields. So it's going to be so much larger with that framing of it's in the past. Nothing you could do to change the past. What we could do is only start today. The old, when do you grow a tree? 20 years ago is the best time to, right? 20 years ago is the best time, but if not, today is the best
Today's
day.
the best time. Yeah, there you go. And that reframe actually, there's a slightly longer version, which is actually it's about 5 times longer, yes, but it's still a little bit, a few sentences. Up until now, I've had a fear of I have a fear of public speaking. Up until now, I've had a fear of public speaking,
Mm.
right? There's the reframe. Then the next little line is, and now I choose to master that. I choose to
Mm.
get 1% better at that this week. 1%, I choose to, and then state what you want to happen, is the next part of that. Make a choice, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Uh,
that leads you and it anchors you. I choose to give them the power that it's their choice versus outside. This one doesn't like me. That one doesn't like me. It's a real anchoring that I get to choose. I have the power within.
you just reminded me of a situation where this is going way back. This is like 2018, I think. I first heard about Wim Hof, right? Wim Hof, the
Yeah,
breath
sure.
guy,
Yeah,
and
yeah, breath
getting the
guy.
cold plunge and all. And I saw that. I'm like, no, no way. I've been a cold wimp my entire life. I used to leave Florida and go to Brazil in the winter because I couldn't handle the Florida cold, right? So we're talking, yeah. And then I remember thinking, "There's just not me." My whole life I caught many colds. My mom would say, "Don't go out with your hair wet; you'll catch a cold." And this was just ingrained in me, right? For 5+ decades. And then I'm like, "But this is interesting." He says he get healthier. He says he's curing disease and different things and mental problems and all. Like, let me learn some more. And I learn. Like, no, no, no. Cold doesn't give you colds. Temperature cold. I'm like, what? Like, is this possible? And I dug more and more and more. And I got to the point where like, that's it. It's going to make me healthier. I got to do it. Like, no, you can't. You're going to, 50 years of being a cold wimp. But I said, you know what? It's going to be good for my health. I'm going to do it. And I got in the pool and seconds, right? And the pins and needles and the pain and got out. Next time I went in, I said, okay, we're going in with a mantra, right? What's the mantra? The mantra is I love the cold. Okay, that's an affirmation, right? So I got in the water and like, the pain, right? It was cold. It was like 48 degrees that day. Got in the water and I started saying, I love the cold. And immediately my subconscious, my brain yelled back, BS. You hate the cold. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're gonna and this voice. And then I figured out how to shut it up. I changed it from I love the cold to I choose to love the cold.
Mm. Yep.
Subconscious had no retort. It's
Sure.
my choice. You can't tell me what I choose. I choose mint chocolate chip. You choose Rocky Road. Go for it, not me.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, no, that's right. The power in our choice, and once we choose,
choice.
I just recently had a heart situation, and the doctors, when they were explaining to me,
Yeah.
had to have a stent put in, and they're like, you have to change your diet. I'm like, done. And they're like, no, no, you have to understand us, and you have to take this medicine, first thing in the morning. Whatever you do, don't before you pee, take this med. Like, I go done, and they're nervous, and I go, you don't understand. You just told me what to do. Don't worry about it. It's done.
Yeah.
Consider it done. I go, I'm not negotiating here. It was a serious thing, and I'm like, all right, done. I know what I have to do. I know I have to change it. And I just met a friend last night, and we were talking about it. As we get older, some of us who've experienced things like that. He's like, so have you changed anything? I go, I changed everything. I told everybody I'm changing it because now it's a choice. I knew
Yeah.
McDonald's wasn't healthy for me. It wasn't like, oh, I didn't know, you know, but now I see the ramifications. I see the results of me not caring. And now I'm like, okay, now it's a choice. So I get to make that choice. And, while, I'll eventually have McDonald's again at some point. I mean, I'm not going to,
Yeah.
but right now, since it's so new, like, no, this is exactly, I need to, reduce weight. I know how to do those eliminations really well. And that, the power of the choice becomes so, when we own our choices versus this happened to me. This is something that I was always told. Okay. And you can change it because it's your choice. I love that.
And how long ago was that?
A month ago. Yeah,
A
this is
month.
the past month has been like a whirlwind. I went from literally not knowing. I mean, I was overweight, so I'm not, not
Okay.
grossly overweight, but still needed to reduce weight. But I then they walked in. I was like, hey, I'm just breathing a little heavy and this and that, and they were like, all right, let's do some tests. Failed the stress test. They sent me in and they were like, oh, the reason why you can't breathe is you have two blocks, including the Widowmaker. I go, well, good, I'm single. So that's good. But the was 98% blocked. I didn't know. I didn't feel any pain. I wasn't having anything that I recognized.
Yeah.
And now I'm one of those champions. I'm going to be keep talking about it on the podcast. And I don't know if I know you're in Asia right now, but I don't know if I'm sure you've watched Good Morning America at
Yeah.
some point. Sam Champion, that's really what got me going. It was a situation where I was watching. He had talked about a very similar situation that he had gone through, and he's in very good shape. I'm in round shape, working towards oval and getting into better shape. But
Okay. That's
but
funny.
so
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in bed. I Googled cardiologist, my local area, and my health insurance. This one doctor had a 3 o'clock appointment. I said,
Yeah.
do it. Like how does it align that well? And 2 weeks later, I was in the hospital with a stent.
Whew. That's some
Yeah,
story.
yeah. So hopefully you just check yourself, even though you look very fit, but we don't know what's inside. Getting that age, we just don't know. So that's one of the missions of now on another platform. I always talk about just everybody should just get checked just once.
Since you brought that up, let's pivot there just a little bit because no doubt, especially in the States, what is like 70% of people are overweight? It's some, maybe it's 80, it's probably 80% by now.
Yeah.
It just keeps going up. Um, Even in Asia, I'm starting to see it. In Asia, like
Oh,
I was in Thailand a few months ago, like 6 months back, and I was surprised the number of chunky people walking around the streets. Really surprised. Here, much less. I'm in Vietnam at this moment. but much less so. But still, it's coming from the west, right? It's
For sure.
it's moving, yeah, moving across. So here's a couple of my, I'm going to share some of my best tips for getting in shape, weight loss, right? Some just simply strategic. One is many people have had the experience of losing some weight and then getting off track, gaining some weight back, and kind of this up and down, right? Let me stop this thing. Stop. Okay. Alarm. Remember there's a podcast. Like, yeah, I know. It's already started. Okay. So here's a simple trick that I've used my entire life to ensure that I can never, ever, ever have be overweight. Well, for me, I can still be overweight.
Yeah.
Not for anyone else in the world looking at me, but for me, I still can be a tiny bit, right? But let me say it this way. I've been wearing the same size pants, jeans for decades, right? So I'm going to explain how do you do that? Here's how you do it. Whatever size you're wearing now, you or our listeners, right? Um, Decide right now that that is the largest size you will ever wear. And there is no other option. Well, what if I gain weight? There's not an option. That's it. You can never buy a bigger size no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. The only options are walk around with your top button undone. You want to do that? No. Well, then you're going to have to modify your diet or don't eat for a few days, right? And then get rid of everything in your closet that's a larger size if you have it. Just get rid of it. That way it's no longer an option.
Mm.
Well, if I gain and get a little tight, I'll reach for the, no, no, no. It's not in the house. It's non-optional. Now you have a goal, an ideal weight. And that's fine. You want to have that in your mind or written down. But your initial goal, your waypoint, if you're on a road trip, the next little
Mm.
town, if you're going driving a great distance, is the next size down. Now that might be a half size. It might be a specific pair of pants, or for a lady, it might be a skirt or something, right? But it's the next clothing size down. You're like, I just can't wear that. If I was just 5 pounds less or 10 pounds, right? And you hang that in front of your closet. You don't stick it in line with all the other clothing. You put it so you walk in and it's looking at you. And then that is the goal. And it's a pretty easy goal because it probably wasn't too long ago you were wearing that next size down. For a man, it's like the next waist size typically, right? But it can be the same size depending on the manufacturer. It might just be, oh, those are still a little snug, right? You can have two size whatever that one's definitely tighter than the other.
Right.
But have that next size for you down and then decide that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. And it's an easy goal relatively because it's not 30 pounds. It's just 5 or 10, whatever there. And as soon as you get there, you can comfortably wear that size. I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yep.
Everything bigger in the closet goes out. It's gone. If it's expensive, consignment shop. If you love it, love it, love it, alterations. Or give it away, donate it, but get it out of the house today. No other options.
Yep.
And that way and that's how I've never gotten very large. I've softened up a little bit because I have that top,
Having those
right?
boundaries, right? So, when you asked about the bat, that's what when you swing a bat,
Yeah,
your boundaries, and you're able to set your boundaries visually. But knowing your boundaries, that's a great way to do that with weight reduction and elimination is put those boundaries, burn the boats, right? Tony Robbins talks about burning the
yeah,
boats, and that's a great
exactly.
way. Hey, I can't afford to go buy a new wardrobe. So what you do is you're like, all right, then I have to figure out how to make it fit for me. I want to be comfortable in my clothes. It needs to
Yeah.
fit for me. That's a great idea.
Now, when we talk, you mentioned boundaries. I want to get really clear on that. If you're on the highway or on a road of any sort, you have a boundary, which is the line. And if it's a dotted line, you can cross it as long as you check, you move in from the right lane to the
Right.
left lane. If it's a double yellow line, That's a boundary. Like, no, 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 no. We got traffic coming the other way. You're not crossing that line, right? Then there's a boundary, like there's the shoulder of the road. Maybe there's gravel. Maybe it starts to slope off grass. You're like, that's a boundary. I don't want to be doing that. I might, get my tire stuck in a hole or something. I might bend the bottom of the car. But it's not a non-negotiable. It's still negotiable. It's possible. Then, if you're on a highway, you have this big concrete thing down the center, and you're not crossing that thing.
Right.
Unless you got some jumping device under your car. Like, it's just not going to happen. You can drive right at it and it's going to bounce you right off. It's a non-negotiable boundary. Cars are coming the other way, you're going that way, you got lanes, you got a shoulder, but there is no way you cross that boundary. That's what I'm talking about with the pant size. It's not oh, I set my boundary and blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. It's a boundary.
Right.
And I do this if I start feeling, which I did last week, I started feeling like I'm feeling a little bit kind of, the pants are getting a little snug. I don't like that. I like to slide my thumb in there nice and relaxed. I'm like, okay, we're going to do a 5-day fast. We're not eating anything for 5 days. I made it 4.5, by the way, not quite 5, but water, black coffee. That's it. And I felt a lot, leaner after those days. I'm not telling everyone listening you need to go 5 days, but maybe you want to go 3 hours. Maybe you want to go 12 hours, 30 hours, right?
Right. Find out what works for us, for what works for you. And you get to make that choice.
Make the choice. Exactly. What do you want? Make a decision. I'm going to get there. How are you going to get there? I don't know. But somehow, some way, I'm a smart person. I figured out how to tie my own shoes and write my name. I'll figure it out. There's plenty of instructional videos out there. I'll figure it out. And then you figure it out.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. And having those visuals, that's one of those things that people could see, so when you're looking at things and if you that's why I love storytelling and models that bring them into something else to teach them the lesson that needs to be taught. Again, when I said boundaries, you're like, well, we all say boundaries and if it's an invisible boundary, like changing lanes in a highway, yeah, so it's okay. I swerved a little bit, and give ourselves permission versus the more concrete barrier. I'm not swerving there. Something, really is going to be serious that has to happen if I'm doing that.
There you go. And as you were saying that, I was picturing a basketball contest, right? So you've got the teams playing, and they're like, oh, blow the whistle, you're out of bounds, right? They got the lines drawn and such. Can they get out of bounds? They can, right? In a wrestling match, they got to stay inside the circle. They have these different boundaries. Even if the basketball player gets out of boundary, let's say they even run, they jump, and they land out over the line. How far can they go out of boundaries before they hit the non-negotiable boundaries? Probably the bleachers.
Right.
Or if it's a stadium, there's that big high wall at the end, so if the ball just goes out before it goes into the stands, you just can't run into the bleachers, right? If you're a player on a team, you can run out of bounds. So in baseball, that's what I mean by a boundary. I mean a boundary, all right? And you got to create it sometimes. Just make it it's just, this is it. I did that I don't drink much, but I did it with alcohol. The boundary is, I don't care if it's a wedding. Now the boundary is 2 drinks.
Right.
I probably can't even get through a 1 these days. But I have this hard
you
boundary.
have that you have that hard piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So some of the takeaways we already have, the reframe, right? The looking at the clock there. Are we getting?
No. I was actually looking at your website. So I wanted to, as you're talking about the reframe, I actually was going to talk to you about that, your PRTR therapy. And that's where we started with the poem where once you recognize the pain, right? The
pain,
hail and for that, and then the remapping, which is some of the stuff that we're talking about now with the choices, the visual opportunities to see where our boundaries are and to then
Right.
reposition ourselves. So I'd love to, kind of lead us into that. That's why I was looking at the at
Okay.
your website, just as a like, hey, I want to
Okay.
make sure I get everything
All right.
for you.
I was thinking, oh, I was looking at the clock. I'm getting really boring. I need to, I need to up my game, right? Um, so PRTR, PRTR is a proprietary blend because I've been studying hypnosis and you talked about havening and other
Yep.
therapy. There's tapping, there's EMDR, the eye move. There's all kinds of therapies, right? Talk therapies. But over the years, I've learned what I like and I've started to make my own recipe, just like any good chef would. And I came up with a recipe and I call it PRTR, and it stands for pain resolving. So if we're talking, example, we're talking about a trauma. Trauma, there's all kinds of traumas, but let's just call it a hurtful event. So somebody thinks back to a time that they got betrayed, a time that they got beat up, molested, something bad happened, right? Saw somebody die, and they don't want to think about it. No, I'm not thinking about that. Because if they do, it tends to still trigger and
Sure.
bring up shame, guilt, resentment, regret, right? Anger, all these feelings. But it's there. It's just tucked behind that door, right? They think they got it locked in the cellar, but it's bubbling under the surface. So part of that process is, with the same objective as EMDR, just different, is tap into that, open that door, and then completely diffuse it so you can leave that door open and there's no more monster hiding. It's completely resolved and you can think about it for the next every day for an hour and you're not bringing back the pain. It's gone.
Mm.
That's pain resolving, is what that PRTR
Sure.
is. Now, once the pain's resolved, and I use a variety of methods, and by the way, EMDR is out there in the wild, right? It exists, and I think it's been proven to be a useful method. I
Sure.
don't use it specifically; it's for doctors, but I do understand the bilateral movement, kind of,
Mhm. Yep.
these kind of things, so it has some attributes that I love, right? But it's not as sure and as fast as I like. So I had to come up with something of my own. Then once the pain's resolved, how do we know that? It's real simple. Think about that thing. Oh, I don't want to think about it. Oh, my stomach hurts. I just feel myself, my shoulders are getting tight. It's still there. Okay. So let's work on it until you can think about it, and there's nothing there. And that's within one session for me. I don't care if they got raped. I'm going to fix that trauma in the first session.
Yep.
It's gone. It's never coming back. It's done. Right. Then the trigger remapping. This is cool. You're gonna love this. So you mentioned anchoring before, right? I don't know if it's the proper example, but Pavlov, right? He connected, you can call it
Right.
an anchor, I suppose, but you connected the bell to the salivation,
Right.
right? Or you hear an old song and it brings back a memory. It brings you back.
Right.
So those things are connected or anchored in your brain. So, and I've done that with people where I'll say, what's one of your happiest memories? Oh, the birth of my child. You remember that? I do. Can you feel that child? Can you smell that child? You feel that child on your chest and feel its heartbeat? Oh gosh. And you just see them going back into that positive frame.
Good.
Now we link it, just like Pavlov, not a bell, but we link it somehow. And now we have this positive connection. And remember, before we had the negative one where they thought about something and it produced a negative emotion, but they have other ones that think about this, they get a positive. So then I thought, wait a second. If we can mess up the wire between think about this person, name, music, sound, smell, whatever, and it fires a negative, and we can mess up that wire, we can cut that trigger, but we can't get rid of the trigger. The trigger's like a switch on the wall. We can cut the switch on the wall from the light, but we can't actually remove the switch because you can't stop someone from saying that person's name or that song from ever playing in the
Right.
future. But we can cut it from your emotion. So now I'm like, wait a second. What if I took the same original trigger that is still wired by like a cloud to the negative. It's not lighting up, it's not creating an emotion, but they still remember what happened,
Sure. Yeah.
right? It's still part of that mental framework. But what if I then took that and I wired it over the happy one? So when they thought about the negative one, it remapped, like remapping keys on a keyboard. When I click this, I want that to happen, like F10 or whatever it is, right? F something. And what if the old negative memory can fire off a happy memory? Not just neutralize it, not just remove the pain, but fire off something happened like, oh, oh,
Yeah.
I like it. So I spent a lot of time working on it and different recipes until I got it cooked. I'm like, that's my recipe. I've changed it umpteen times. It's like, I'm sticking with this. What are you going to call it? PRTR. I originally was going to call it PPTR, but I'm like, PP kind of sounds like little kids go
Yeah.
PP, you know.
Yeah.
But I called it that because people said, what's it like? I said, it's like plucking a splinter. Well, what do you mean? Well, if you're walking around with a splinter in your foot, it hurts. And every time you step, it hurts. What if I plucked the splinter? Oh, that would feel much better. Really? It wouldn't bother you anymore? Nope. Then let's do that. So I was going to call it pain plucking. But essentially, that's what it is. We're removing, resolving the pain because the splinter is gone. It can't hurt anymore. Not today, not tomorrow, not in another lifetime. It's not coming back. It's done. That's PRTR.
That is wonderful, and that's so much. There's there's similarities of some of the work that I do, and I love it because that's what you have to do. Is you just don't leave a void in taking away the pain. You're actually either reconnecting it to a positive thing, or at least filling it with something that's more positive, and that's really what you do. Is you don't take away. When I explain some of the modalities that I use, I go, it's like
Yeah.
a horror movie. I go, while whatever you might have gone through is the scary. That's in the room of darkness, and you're watching it. You're scared. But if I said, let's turn the lights on, the memory doesn't go away. The movie doesn't get any less scary, but the idea is like I'm not going to be scared in the in the light. I'm in a safe place, and that's the beauty of that. I love that. I really, uh,
There you go. So you just said like their memory is this dark, scary place.
right.
You put on the lights. Now, if we wire that in, and it's always a lit room when they return to it mentally, it's not scary. What if we went a little further and we said that, hey, do you like dogs? I love dogs. You like puppies? I love puppies. If they do, obviously we got to
Right.
change it to parakeets or whatever they love. Oh, you like puppies? Okay. Well, what if we put, a bunch of white fluffy puppies, if you like white fluffy puppies or whatever you like, beagles. But what if we put your favorite puppies, labs, in that memory? And every time you visit that memory, you got a bunch of puppies running around. Like, would you be scared then? Like, no, they'd be kissing my legs and jumping on my
Right.
lap and like, okay. So this is the beauty. This is we didn't actually we've been skirting this concept of hypnosis.
Yep.
Um, but here's my definition. You didn't ask for it, but here we go. It's really simple. It's suggestion, a thought, an idea, and a reception. That's it. So when you watch a movie and there's a sad scene and you allow yourself into the sad scene and you feel sad because the puppy just died or something just happened, that's hypnosis. Why? Because the movie, the writers, the actors, the music suggested that something bad happened. You accepted it, even if it's for a short time. It got into your subconscious. How do we know? Because that's where the emotions are triggered.
Right.
That's hypnosis. It's like, it's not this complicated, scary, although it's kind of fun to do the theatrical stuff, have people wake up on the floor. I mean, it's fun,
Yeah.
for as an entertainer, but really the magic is just, can we get this idea in past the gate? And sometimes it takes a little sting to open the floodgates, the doors of new ideas, right? To get people to see things in a different way, new frame, new perspective. And like, oh, what ifs can be positive. This can be, I didn't do it yet. Right? And now hypnosis is happening, even if we're just talking we've already given the gift of hypnosis to many listeners, I'm sure, even if they didn't realize it, right?
100%. Well, we are going to tie up, the
Okay.
episode, and what I usually do is I have people walk into our magic garden, and our guests, and what I'd love you to do is you've given us so much knowledge during this episode. Is there one more gem, one more seed that we can plant uh, for people to either see right away or for it to grow a little bit, and you need to nurture it?
The first one that came to mind is ask a better question. I think that is probably the greatest seed in the world. Why does this always happen to me? It's a crappy question, excuse the language. But how can I turn this around? How can I make this work? How can I get good at that? I think that is the world's greatest seed. I think that, yeah, that's probably the one that I'd want people to plant. And then the other seed is the rule of one. And the rule of one, there's many rules of one. My rule of one, or the one that I like, is just do one thing. I'm too tired to exercise. I don't have the energy. Okay, do 1 minute. I'm too tired to do 1 minute. Do 1 second. I, I want to write a book. Okay, sit down and write for 1 minute. Write one sentence, write one page, write one paragraph, just one. Lower the bar, make it easier. And as long as you're progressing, no matter how small the baby step, a baby step of a baby ant,
Right.
right? um, then celebrate that little step, and that's the path to happiness. There you go,
There
right
you go.
there. The rule of one. Just begin. Fall on your face, get up, and keep going.
Correct. Thank
Just
you.
go.
That's great. How can everybody find you, Jeff?
I think the easiest way is via my website, mindsetbliss.com, because on there at the bottom, there's the links to the YouTube and the other social channels. Um, if you just try to go to YouTube, you'll have people that
Yeah.
borrowed my name and put a space between it or a hyphen or something else, right? But the .com will always get them to the right
Always get you
place.
to
And
get you to the right place.
simple. If they message me from there, then I'll send them something like maybe the happiness checklist or something cool.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this. This was really a very enjoyable way for me to start my day, and I know that you're in Asia, so hopefully it was a good way to help finish your day.
Yeah, amazing. A pleasure.
Okay. And for everybody else, as always, I wish you peace and love in your life and use that as your foundation. And when you bring a bat, just be awesome today. Thank you so much.